So welcome, everybody. This recording will be posted later, and we'll send out an email with the link for those of you who have friends who might be interested in hearing about it. We had some confusion about getting the emails out, and of course, those of you who follow these meetings, they usually occur on a Wednesday later in the month. So feel yourself selected to listen in. So I happen to know both of these gentlemen who will speak to you tonight. They're both very experienced environmentalists. John Cordes is, I'm going to introduce John Cordes, who's going to speak first about the legislations that are in progress in our state. Okay. So I'm going to leave it at that and let John conduct the meeting.
Thanks, Gary. Hopefully you'll be back. Good evening, everyone. I'm John Cordes. I'm the Guadalupe Regional Group Political Committee Chair. I'm going to give everybody an update today on where we are with the Sierra Club California Priority Bill status for 2021. Feel free to ask questions. We have lots of time. I don't think we're going to have any trouble running out of time. As this is being recorded, hopefully you'll encourage your friends and neighbors, etc., to share and get an update on the status as well. So, come on, shift focus. There we go. So just as a reminder for people in California, there's three kind of levels of the Sierra Club. There's the National Sierra Club that focuses on the U.S. Congress and the federal government. Then in California, because we have 13 separate chapters in California, in every other state, the chapter is equal to the state. We have a separate organization in California called Sierra Club California. And that's our lobbying and advocacy voice that works in Sacramento. Locally here, we're in the Loma Prieta chapter, which represents San Mateo, Santa Clara, and San Benito counties. And the next level below that is the group level, which is we are with the Guadalupe Regional Group, and we kind of work south of Mountain View in our area. So there's another group called Peninsula Regional Group that works north of here, further up the peninsula. So we kind of have our three counties divided in half. So any questions about how the Sierra Club is structured in our part of the world? Okay, moving on. So how bills become laws in California, and this is an annual process. So California has an annual process defined to move bills through both the Assembly and the Senate each year. Pretty much in January, about 1,000 bills get introduced between the Senate and the Assembly every year. So everybody has their laundry list of things they want to try and do to get them changed. So we end up with 1,000 bills every January. And that's what our representatives in Sacramento start working with, right? Getting bills started that we want and trying to figure out what other bills are being written. So that happens at the first 3-4 months of the year. So January through June, those bills have to finish in the House that they start in a normal year. There's exceptions to everything. And then, so that date just ended. So June 7th, everything was that's expected to move forward that was started in the Assembly, has been passed out of the Assembly and is now going to go to the Senate in the fall. And everything that started in the Senate in the spring and has passed out will now go to the Assembly in the fall. All right. So where we are right now is this in-between window between things that have finally finished in one house and hopefully made it onto the other house if we like them, or died if we didn't like them. All right. So the differences between the two bills, assuming if the Senate and the House pass slightly different versions, will be reconciled and then go back to the original House for passage in the fall. And there's one other big exception to this. Sometimes bills get held. The person that sponsors them or somebody else, usually the person that sponsors them, will not officially try and move it forward. And then it becomes what's known as a 2-year bill, which means it's gonna, he's gonna work on it. He's gonna try and fix it, whatever changes he needs to do to get the necessary votes to pass it next year. So, bills can either died already out of the 1,000 that started, they could have moved forward, or they could have been pulled and kind of sitting in committee or on hold, waiting for next year. Any questions about the process? Okay, so now we're going to talk about what the Sierra Club California has been working on. So I created the link here for anybody that wants to know. I'm not going to explain these bills in detail. I will share the list of the bills that have made it out of each house and into the other house, that we're focused on in the fall, and which we normally go to Sacramento for lobby day in September to lobby for these bills. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen this September, but this URL link gives you the list. It's a 9-page document of the priority bills. It's the ones we want to move forward, and it's also the list of bills we want to stop. To do all this work, Sierra Club California has 4 full-time lobbyists in Sacramento. We have a brand new director, Brandon. Catherine Phillips just retired after, I think, 10 years. So Brandon is the acting director for Sierra Club California. In addition to the work that the lobbyists do on bills, they also work with the regulatory agencies like the Department of Natural Resources on regulations. Same thing with Department of Water, Department of Digger, which is gas and other rules. And the bills that get selected is actually selected by the volunteers. So we have a volunteer body called the Sierra Club California Legislative Committee. There's the ones that actually look at this list of bills along with staff and decide which ones are the ones we want to be pushing and supporting, and which ones are the ones we're trying to stop, because we can't pay attention to all 1,000 of them. Okay, so that's enough about process. And now I'm going to actually roll forward into the list. Is there any questions before I do that? All right, so here we go into the actual list itself. Oh, sorry, that went the wrong direction. So these are wins. These are bills we like that move forward and got out of the house that they were in. If they start with AB, that means they started in the assembly. AB stands for Assembly Bill. SB stands for Senate Bill. Like I said, I'm not going to go into these in detail, just kind of give you a quick overview. So we're trying to deal with how to remediate abandoned and idle gas and oil wells, trying to remediate abandoned deserted wells. So a lot of things about here. These are all in the pollution control kind of category, these first 3 bills. Then we get into AB 585, which is about how to help communities deal with extreme heat, right? So resources and emergency response centers. SB 222 is trying to help people with water rate assistance, because water rates are going up very fast, particularly in our region, Santa Clara Valley Water District, because of the work they're doing on Anderson Dam and other places. Most people are not paying attention, but they've already told us that our water bills are going to increase by 8 to 10% every year for the next 10 years. So everybody's water bill is going to double over the next 10 years at a minimum. That's just due to the valley water fees. They may go up even higher than that, depending on what your city chooses to do. All right, so we're on page 2. Now we're getting into a little bit more global bills. So our our leader of the Senate, Atkins, has got SB 1, which is a bill to deal with coastal resources and sea level rise. Thank you there. The next one, 77799, and these 2 bills, one's in the Assembly, one's in the House. You'll see this happen fairly often. We'll try and find a senator and an assembly person to support the same bill just in both houses and hopefully move it fast that way. So this Tesla Park is the name of a recreation area that is currently an off-highway vehicle playground. And so for a long time, decades and decades, people have been trying to protect Tesla Park from off-road vehicles. So that's finally moving forward. Our local representative, Mark Berman's got this bill to clean up leaf blowers and lawnmowers. He's trying to get the ban on 2-stroke motors in place. So thank you, Mark. This next one by Josh Becker, who's again our local Senate person. Josh Becker's our local Senate person for most of us in this area. He's working to create a bill to create cleaner concrete. Concrete creation is about 4% of the global warming gases because they have to cook all that limestone to turn it into concrete, unfortunately. Our newest state senator, Dave Cortese, was also just elected. He's working on a bill to decarbonize buildings, again, helping people retrofit buildings to make them more energy efficient. And then this interesting bill by Mean is going to be on zero emission autonomous vehicles. So, obviously the Sierra Club's in favor of zero emission vehicles. I haven't read this bill in detail. I can't tell you more about it. I'm just going to move on to the next part of the list. So this is Assembly Bill 338 by Ramos. It's going to be honoring Native Americans in construction of the new Capitol Annex. I don't know any more than that about it. 616 by Stone is Agricultural Labor Relations Voting Choice Act. Again, I don't know any specifics. Or this ending exploitation of garment workers. So you can see these are all about representation and trying to restore past injustices. So Sierra Club very concerned with equity and diversity and equality. So all good bills there. Then we get a little bit more into what we can think of as kind of our traditional areas. So Ting has got a bill on thermoform plastic minimum content. So this is trying to create a market for recycled plastic to say that, things that are going to be thermoform insulation and stuff have to have a minimum recycled content. Same thing with here. Gonzalez is working on recycling bills. Same thing here with 962 on returnable beverage bottles, getting more things classified as recyclable. The recycling industry absolutely cratered during the last few years because China stopped buying a lot of this stuff, and we haven't increased the 10 cents and 5 cents per bottle fees that we pay. So a lot of recycling centers are going broke because they can't make enough money on the little bit of money that they get per bottle. And Bloom is working on a bill to try and reduce pollution by cutting down on disposable wipes. All right, one more page, very short on winds, and then we'll get to the things we're trying to stop. So again, Phil Ting, just north of us, further up the peninsula, is working on a bill on compost. Carrillo is working on a bill to reduce unnecessary food serviceware, right? So much of the takeout today has got knives and forks and napkins and things that people don't use and just immediately throw away in them. So she's trying to get that law changed. And then Alan's trying to work on a truth in labeling for recyclable materials, because a lot of things are marked recyclable that are no longer recyclable. Many kinds of plastics that you buy in the store that have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plastic mark on them are not recyclable anymore. All right, on to the things we're trying to stop. So these are the bad bills. California is a very progressive state, so we don't have very many bad bills that made it out that we're trying to stop, but these are the ones that these are the only two that are on our list that we're trying to stop that made it out of their respective houses. So 267 would exempt tree removals from CEQA, and 227 would increase the use of emissions of so it would allow more emissions from non-compliant off-highway vehicles, right? Last thing we want is allowing increased emissions from vehicles, particularly the dirty ones that are usually used off-highway. Now, is there any question about the good bills and the bad bills? Okay, moving on.
I had one question.
Sure.
What is the reasoning for those things on the recycling aspect of it, the numbered ones? Why aren't they recycling those anymore?
Because they can't find anybody to buy them, and they never really were very recyclable. They don't mix well with other plastics. There's no content. There's nothing they can use to create something good out of them anymore.
Okay, thank you.
So it was always kind of a little bit of a false narrative. I mean, they've created those 6 kinds of plastics, 1 through 6 or 7 eons ago, and then they allowed them to put the recycle symbol on them. But for some of them, they never ever found a way to recycle them.
Okay.
I'll add one thing, because I had a conversation with the general manager of Recology, who services Cupertino, where I live. He said actually the most reliable recyclable container are the aluminum cans. Mm-hmm. So if you have a choice, pick up an aluminum can.
even
Okay.
over bottles. But again, it has to do with the processing process, and it's just a mess. All right, so I just have a couple more slides, and then I'll hand it off to Gary, who will hand it off to Rob. So these, I said at the beginning that things either die out of these 1,000 bills that start every year. They either die or they move by June, except if they decide to put them on hold. So this is the list of bills that are on hold. So the ones that we oppose, we hope never get off hold. And all the ones that you see that we support, we're hoping that somehow we'll, they'll get enough support. The sponsor will amend them to the point where they get enough support to move forward next year. Particularly like the California Clean Water Act. It would be a nice one to see that move forward. Here's page 2 of this list. So, here's another one, right? Combating microfiber pollution. Whoop, sorry. That I hopefully will move forward at some point in time. And same thing with this SB 54, right? Plastic Pollution Producers Responsibility Act. We've got to make the producers responsible for taking this stuff back, since the recycling scheme we set up has turned into an abysmal failure for plastics.
So you're saying they're being irresponsible and we want to make them responsible. Is that what I'm hearing?
Uh-huh. Yeah. All right. So next steps for all of you that are interested, to determine who your California Assembly or Senate members are. If you don't know, I included a URL here to find out. You just type in your address and it will tell you who your senator is and who your assembly person is, right? I recommend you look at their existing scorecard to see whether we think they're a good person or not. Pretty much everybody in our area has got like an A+ rating. So generally we have very responsive and positive ratings for our local representatives here. And I've given you the link to get to the scorecard, or if you just Google the scorecard name, it'll show up. Then learn more about bills that are important to you. If you really care about Tesla Park, if you really care about pollution recycling, you can read about them here on this next URL I included, the leginfo legislatureca.gov page. And then please contact your Senate or Assembly person and let them know what you think, right? Tell them how they voted, and if you're happy with them, thank them. And if you don't think they voted the right way or they didn't vote the way the Sierra Club recommended, please let them know you think that they need to change the way they vote. And that's my entire presentation. Is there any questions before I hand it back to Gary? All right, I'm going to stop sharing and give it back to Gary.
Well, thank you very much, John. One thing I'll add, something that is of interest to me that I'm surprised the Sierra Club hasn't formally got behind, is developing offshore wind in California. There's actually calculations that show that you could power the whole country off I can't remember if it's just California or the whole West Coast. So there is a bill, I think it's SB 525, which passed I guess it's AB 525, passed the Assembly. And hopefully that'll go through. It's an extensive study, which is really what they have to do and should have been done years ago. I mean, I can be critical of Obama for not having sponsored the study. Anyway, so thank you, John, for that.
That's a California bill instead of a federal bill, Gary? Are you sure?
Well, this is a California bill, but there's no reason why the study couldn't have been sponsored by the federal government. It's pretty extensive in that it looks where could you put the turbines offshore, but then they have to be maintained, so you need a nearby port, with some equipment and stuff like that. So it is a.
I'm sure you know how to reach Josh Becker or Mark Berman or whoever your representative and senator are.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think I will do that. That's a good idea.
They are more than willing to meet with us in person. The Sierra Club's got a lot of clout. They really depend on our endorsements when they come around to get elected. So I'm pretty much any of the elected official that we want to meet with will meet with us.
Okay. Thanks again, John.